Well, greetings everyone. I think it's time for a 3D printer update. It's been a very long time, probably a year since my last one. Bad news. Well, bad news and good news. Bad news is we had an accident with the 3D printer. Basically, I tried using blue painter's tape on the bed to get the print to stick. Unfortunately, what happened was we had a bit of a disaster. The switch here, when it was calibrating, got caught inside the tape where it overlaps. It caught itself underneath a bit of tape. Then the print head tried to go up. This was stuck under the tape. This got ripped and bent and all mangled, which I've managed to straighten out just about. But unfortunately, because of that, it dragged on the motor carriages, and this motor carriage here actually broke. It snapped in half. I don't know if I can get that on the camera, but if I go on the back maybe. I can't see what I'm filming there, but perhaps you can see better. Just here, there's a gaffer tape repair where the piece of plastic snapped in half, and yeah, it was very sick. And essentially, ever since then, it hasn't printed properly. I'm getting all sorts of problems because it's just not holding the print head in a correct position for printing. So I was getting all sorts of deformations in the prints, which was no good at all. Therefore, I have got the upgrade to the print carriages. We've got these magnetic ball arms upgrade, which are these rods here, these magnets here, and these new carriages here, which will replace these. So now, instead of having these arms here, we will have these arms instead, which will go here, and they will be attached by, if I can get one out, there we go, they'll be attached by these magnets at either end. So there'll be one at this end, one at that end, and the magnet basically moves around inside there like that. So that's how the printer will now print, and hopefully that will, not only will it result in a better quality print, it should also stop what happened to me last time happening again, because if anything does catch here, then instead of ripping the motor and breaking the carriage, it would hopefully just pop one of these magnetic joints off, because I mean they're quite strong, but you can pull them apart. So hopefully this would break instead of anything on the actual printer, which is easy because you can just reattach the magnet. So got the instructions on my computer, got all the pieces. Actually started by peeling the plastic off this one already, but that's all I've got done so far. And we're going to try installing this upgrade on this printer. I'll be back with an update shortly. Okay, so we've taken the print carriage out, which was a bit more work than I was expecting. Where's it gone? So that was what was in there. That was there. That's now come out. Got all the rods here, all the carriages here. These carriages were more of a pain to take off than I was hoping for. Obviously they were on these uprights here, and I thought I could just quite easily take them off the sides, but given that how many bolts and things and all the wheels are on there, it was actually easier just to take the top frame off here, take this off, and just basically just slide them straight up and off the top and take them off that way. But of course then that meant I had to take off the end stops and all sorts of other bits and pieces, so it was a bit of a hassle, but it's done. It's all stripped down, and hopefully I can start rebuilding. Now that this is all dismantled though, you can actually see the damage that was caused to this carriage here. This is the bit that snapped off. As you can see, it was there. And when it was on the 3D printer, there was obviously a wheel in here, which was holding it all together, but there was no structural strength in it because it was broken. So it was moving around. The carriage was basically moving around too freely on the upright when the motor was lifting up and down. There was too much movement sideways, I think. So it meant that the prints weren't coming out very well. So that was the cause for all the issues. And now I just need to build the new carriages, which I've started, but then I realised I needed more bits. Right, so I've actually built one of the new carriages now, which is attached to the 3D printer. These are the two ball joints that the rods connect to, and the wheels are reused from the old carriages. This is the new end stop, which will hit just there nicely. So that all fits. Had to reuse most of what I'd taken off of the 3D printer. The stuff they sent me didn't seem to be the right size for this carriage, so I'm not sure what was going on there. I'm not even sure if I've got enough of these bolts to make the other two, because as I say, these ones are not the right size. So I've been reusing the stuff that I dismantled from here. Time will tell if I've got enough bits to do all of them, but it wasn't too taxing. But one of the things, for example, that doesn't fit is, if I take these out, I believe these were supplied for the new wheels. However, it's awkward because they're... But look, if you see that, it's just not long enough. You can't, by the time you've got the spacer on there, you can't put the nut on the end of it. So I'm not sure what these are actually supposed to be used for. Maybe I'm missing something and it'll become clear later, but I just reused the ones from the previous 3D printer, which seemed to work just fine. So anyway, just got to do that another 2 times and I'll be back. Right, well, I thought we'd have a quick change of scenery, and I would show you how to build one of the carriages in case you have one of the Coswell Clears yourself and you want to know how it's done, because the instructions they give you on their website are not the best. I got through them, but it'll be easier if you follow these instructions. So first of all, you start with the new carriage holder, and on that there's an M engraved, which you probably see. Yeah, you can just about see that just there, just the M just there. You want the engraved bit facing you, and then you take one of the longer Allen bolts and you thread that through the hole like so, with the engraved M facing you. You then install that into here. Switch that out to get the right size. Okay, so we do that, and you just drive that all the way in. Keep going. Far as it will go. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Nearly there. Until it reaches the end. Like so. Don't over tighten it. Very important with all these that you don't over tighten them. But it just goes all the way in. Like so. Into the hole next to the M. So see the M there? Goes in that hole there. Below that is another hole, just there. Get in the light properly, just there. Put another one in there the same. This is missing off the instructions. It only actually tells you to put one of these in. They never tell you to put the second one in. It just magically appears in one of their photos, and if you're not paying attention, as I wasn't on the first one I built, then you'll miss it out. And I had to go and put it back in again. So chuck that in there. Da-da-da-da-da. So 2 in, done, boom. And these 2 bolts are what the pulley is going to attach to. So yeah, that's what that attaches to. Next thing to do is to put a short little, this is an M10 I think, these ones are, the M10s. That goes into this little piece, and it wants to go in so that if you look at it, it kind of Slightly resembles an R if you look at it. So you want it to be looking, as you look at it, you see the R shape, put it in that way round. And you don't need to go all the way in with this one. You just need to go in, well, I go in just until it's flush with the underside. So keep going a little bit further. Slightly working in my own shadow here. So there, so it's just, I don't know if you can see that, if it will focus, but it's just flush with the P, so it sticks out at the top. And this is the P, this nut here, this is what hits the end stop at the top of your travel when it's finally assembled. So then you want to get this and attach it so that it goes in. Difficult to show you again, but you've got the two bolts coming out. This side goes on the opposite side, so you want it on the side with the two heads, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if it does or not. And then you need to use, I think these are M15s, 15mm so that goes in like so. Just start that off like that, and then this is always, if you've built one of these before, you know, the trickiest bit is to actually get the nut to go into, where is it, into that little hole there. You have to hold it in that little hole. It's hard to get the angle right. So it goes in like, oh fiddly, like so. Trying to take my finger over that, falling out. There, you can just about see that, and then you screw it into that, and you want that to go all the way in, and tighten it up again. Don't over tighten because you'll break the, you'll just crack it, break the mouldings. So just nip it up. Do not over tighten. Can't stress that enough. Okay, so now we have that assembly done. The next step is to take two of the little metal, I don't know what they're called, they're the ball joints, I guess, and they go in, and they want to go, in the two holes here. It's really hard to see the holes. There's one there, and there's one on this side here. There's two of them either side. They go in there, and they also want to go so that the ball part is on the same side as the bolts are sticking out. Okay, so you thread those in. You can do this with your fingers. They go in fairly easily. And then take the other one and do the same on the other side. Of course, this one's being awkward. Does not want to go in this one. Bear with me, I'll go and get the tool to make this possible. Okay, I'm back and I have some needle nose pliers, so I can put these in. Again, just be quite gentle. You don't need to use a great deal of force. Just try and get the thread started. There we go. It's going in now. So with both the ball joints in place, you then want to place a nut on the other side, and again just gently nip it up. Don't want to over tighten. I know I keep repeating myself on that, but it's very important. You don't want to break the plastic. So that one goes on there. Just nip it up again. There we go, and that should be good. So that's that now done. The next thing is to attach the wheels, and the wheels consist of the bolt that goes through the middle, the two spacers, the wheel in the middle, and the nut. And the wheel assembly also consists of two bearings, which if you've taken them off your old printer you will already have inserted. So dismantle that into its constituent parts, and you'll see there's a bearing in that side and a bearing in that side. It's two bearings. So what you do here is you place, got to work around, I want it. You want the head to be in that end, so just pop those in there. Sometimes they drop straight in, sometimes they're a little bit tighter and you just have to feed them through with your finger, but they're fairly easy to get in. There we go, so that's that one in. And then you take so the order is the ball joints are here, the head of the nut is here, and it comes out this side. So you now place a spacer on first, followed on by the wheel, then another spacer, and finally the nut. Then I need to swap my tool out to get the right size for these ones. So they're slightly wider. And again, just very gentle. Well, you can be a little bit tighter with these. Oh, wrong one. I want to do it on this one. Again, just tighten it up a little bit. And then do the same again on the next one. So the bolt goes in. See, that one just dropped straight in that time. Well, it's wrong around, but it's a little bit looser. Just drops straight in the hole. Spacer goes on. Wheel goes on. Spacer goes on. And then nut on top of that. Tighten it up. Okay, that's enough. Now, here's where I do something different to the instructions. In the instructions, they tell you to now put this on the upright and then add the final wheel. I found that really difficult, and as I already had to take the top of my 3D printer off to remove the old carriages, it's much easier to install the wheel now and just slide it on from the top again. So I'm going to install the third wheel now. Whether you do that or not, it's up to you. As I say, I would advise personally to just take the top of the printer off, because it's quite easy. It's only the three Allen bolts on the top which hold the top frame on, lift straight off, and then you can just slide these on off really easily rather than fiddling around, because it was pretty difficult. I couldn't actually get it on when I tried. So there we go. Just pop that on there. Pop the final nut on. Tighten that one up. There we go. And we're done. That is the new carriage completed. So you have the three wheels here, the extrusion goes in there and runs up and down on those wheels. On the inside, or the side where the printer is, you have these two metal balls which the rods will attach to, and then these two bolts here where the pulley runs up and down, and that's it. That's that side. Show you a close-up of that side and a close-up of the back, so you can see. It's very simple. So just going to add this onto the actual 3D printer and then start putting everything back together. Need to assemble the new carriage and various other bits, so we're still a fair way off, but making slow progress. Okay, so one of the other things you need for this upgrade is this thing called thread lock, which isn't particularly easy to find in the UK. I found most DIY stores and stuff I checked didn't have it. The place I did find it was at a car parts place. This is a Car Plan Power Bond thread lock. I say it was just in like a little car parts, and to use it you just need a tiny little drop on the end of the thread, just like that. Don't need a huge amount because it goes a long way. So I'll just show you that. So it's focus. Come on, focus on that. Is it going to focus? No, it's not going to focus. Basically, there's a little bit on the end. I'm not going to hang around too long because it'll dry quite quickly. But you just put a little bit on the end, thread it into the rod at the end, and let it dry for about an hour, and you're good. So all my rods are now thread locked up, and just need to let them dry. And while they're drying, I can get to work on this. Well, this is done, but I need to put the hot end back in here and redo that. And I also need to reattach the belts to the carriages. All the three carriages are now on. There, and where is it? There it is up there. And the other one is just here. And as you can see, the new end stops nicely work on there. So that's great. So yeah, just a few more jobs to do. So reattach the belts to the carriages, get the end effector remounted with the hot end in it, and then when that's all done, hopefully the rods will be dry enough to attach everything together. Okay, so now we're in a position where all the carriages are attached to the belts, all three of them. Each of the belts have got a similar amount of tension on them. One thing I did, which is not mentioned in the instructions, is to actually put a nut behind the belt. Where the belt goes on here, I actually put a nut behind as a spacer and a nut in front. I think it tells you to put one on the front. I'm not sure, can't remember. That's to stop the belt coming off the front of the bolt. So a nut on the front there to stop it sliding off the front. But also, I find it a good idea to put a nut behind the belt, because the reason for that is you want the belt to run as parallel as possible. Okay, and if you don't have the little spacer nut in there, this belt can ride back further, so it kind of pulls it, exaggerated, it pulls it in like that instead of being like that, pulls it in slightly because there's no spacer there. So I just put a little nut behind the belt, or either side, to sandwich the belt on the bolt, and that seems to hold the belt a lot more parallel, as you can see. And I'll demonstrate on that one as well. Has the same thing. Just holds it a lot more parallel. So that's that. So hopefully my rods have had long enough to dry. So now I can put the rods onto the carriage and rebuild the, well, I think this is called the effector end. So I can rebuild the effector end and attach it all. And then that's the construction phase done. It's just calibration then. So join me later. Well, there it is, guys. The upgrade construction is complete. all seems to be working pretty well. The rods are in position. The end effector is rebuilt. This was this is a real pain. Basically, the end effector, this hole here in this piece is smaller. The diameter is smaller than the old one, which had a much larger hole. So I couldn't actually fit the hot end through the hole as a complete unit. As you see there, it's all obviously it's built as one piece with the white. I think it's PLA, might be ABS. I'm not sure. But the 3D printed part there, with the hot end attached, wouldn't fit through the hole, which meant I had to disassemble the whole of this assembly, put it all through the hole to get the cables in, and then reassemble it, which was a bit of a pain, won't lie. Been much easier if they'd made the hole a bit bigger, but hey, I guess that's just the way the new design is. Overall, it's not been a horrendously complicated process. If you've built the 3D printer in the first place, this is a fairly painless upgrade in the grand scheme of things. Some things more fiddly than others. Actually, threading these belts back through the top was probably taking me the longest amount of time. That was quite painful. And obviously having to rebuild the end effector and hot end and everything was a bit of inconvenience. But other than that, it's all gone fairly smoothly. Just remains for me to plug it all up, power it up, and yeah, see if it still works, and do some calibration with these new rods in place. Wish me luck. Okay, so the printer is currently trying to self-calibrate using the RC Marlin firmware. If it can focus on there. Don't really understand what it's doing personally, but whatever it's doing it. These are my results. 0.02, 0.01, 0.02, 0.05, 0.02. So I think it's getting close. Yeah, so it's done 22 iterations so far. It might work. Watch this space. Now, one of the important things to note that I got wrong when I first set this up is to make sure that when you attach your rods to the effector, that the rods are parallel. So the distance at the top here is the same as the distance at the bottom there. You'll see it when it homes in, they're all parallel, all the rods. What you can get wrong is this effector can be turned around slightly so that these two rods here are here, and what happens then is that it tapers wide at the top, tapers in at the effector, and that's bad. You don't want that, so make sure your rods are parallel with the effector. So this has been running for quite a while now, but I keep seeming to be getting all these tower C radius errors, tower A radius error, tower C radius error, tower B radius error. Get a lot of that. I don't know if that's part of the process or not, because I don't really understand how this works, but it's changing my delta rod length quite a bit. It seems to keep increasing it. These values here seem to keep changing. They go from 0.01 up to 1.6 as it is there, 1.7. I've had it up to 12.6 at one point, so they're fluctuating quite a lot. I'm not really sure if it's going to work or not. I was told if it gets up to 99 iterations and it's failed, but I can't see what iteration we're up to at the moment, so I'll just leave it running. It does come up with iteration whatever every now and then, but it's a very lengthy process. I still noticed a problem here with this tower. If you little focus, you can see that the rod is jumping in and out. Come on, focus. There you go, it's just popped out, and it jumps back in again. It's catching on that nut there. It's jumped out, and now it's jumped in. And I don't know why. It's jumped out, and it's jumped back in. And obviously, I'm guessing that's going to have a big impact on my accuracy. Bit worrying, really. I'm not sure how to fix that. Jumped out. Back in. Yes. Okay. I have established the problem. The problem is the camera won't focus again. These bolts here are the ones that came with the original printer, but they have a very big head on them. And what's happening, well, it's pretty obvious in the other video, but as the rod moves around, it fouls on the head of the bolt and pushes itself off. Okay, on here. Now, the bolts they supplied with the upgrade, I've got a nice flat head on, so that won't be a problem. However, they aren't long enough to get the nut on the end. So I don't quite know how I'm supposed to use those. Yeah, pass. But these aren't long enough, even though they have a nice flat head on. Okay then, the problem with the wheel is now solved. As you can see, it's flush, so it's not going to foul. And of course, because I'm an idiot, don't actually need to have a spacer on this side of the wheel. I've left them on this side because they're there and they're not doing any harm. But you actually need one because it's not spacing anything. So I've just put a nut on one side and then I've put another nut on top to try and act as a locking nut. So I've done that to all three carriages, 1, 2 and 3. You can see this one here has the same arrangement, if it will focus. There we go. And it's now running the calibration again. Important to note, the heat bed is running at 60 degrees. It's important because the heat expands the height of the glass, so you need to make sure you're calibrating with the heat bed on. Over here we are still getting tower radius errors and it's adjusting. I'll just turn, oh, I can't turn the torch off. But can I cover up my finger? Not very easily. There we go. Cover that up. No, that's not right. I'll leave it on. So yeah, over here I'm still getting tower radius errors. There's one there, tower A radius error, adjusting delta radius. Then I get another adjusting delta radius. We're getting readings of 1.3, 1.4, 1.4, 1.3, 1.3. They seem to fluctuate quite a bit. I think when I started they were about 12 point something. Sometimes they get down to 0.6. Sometimes they get down to 0. I've had them at 0.000, but then other ones haven't been as close. So just gonna let it do its thing for a while. Not sure what iteration we're on, but I had to start again. So wherever we were, we lost all that progress because obviously there was a problem with the carriages. But I'll be back with you later. But this is just a problem I've got. So heater bed is on at 60 degrees there, and I'm running the RC Mine firmware. Got the probe deployed there, and this tower here, this carriage of this one, has a problem when the G30 command is used. So a G30E will apparently, well, it does check your calibration. So if I hit G30E in pronto face like so and hit send, then the printer will go down, it will probe the bed, go there, like that, like that, like that. I'm just going to get ready on this switch because it's going to, and then watch what happens. Yeah, that carriage there, for some reason, turn it back on again, it's always trying to drive itself. Now the end stops work. You can see the end stops work because when I home the printer, it stops. So if I run that G30E command again, I'll find the button. So it's homing itself fine, around here. It's calibrating. Now watch as it hits, so it hits the top, and then yeah, I don't know why it does that.